Fur Rangers Episode 3, The Root of the Problem. Created and written by the Furry Sith Lord. Fanfiction based on Saban's Power Ranger series. Lisa woke as the alarm next to her bed rang. She rubbed her eyes and smiled to herself as she planned to have a great day today. The results of the science test she took would come back and she was sure she aced it. In the kitchen, her mom had left a bowl of birdseed for her and a bagged lunch. By now her mother had gone off to work, otherwise she would have kissed her and said good morning. She was used to it now, but her father was still asleep in bed and he would be for the next hour or so she had to make sure she was quiet. Like totally awesome look today, Lisa, she said to herself. Like thank you, she replied to herself after making the final preparations. She was now dressed and primed and ready for her walk to school. She grabbed her lunch and set off. She never saw Gollip watching her from the shadows, muttering the word pitiful to himself over and over again. Evil Empress, the pink one is alone and on her way to school. Shall I send some snake warriors after her? The winged ape asked. Hiss. Not if I want it done right, I'll have to do it myself. She shouted and he flinched in his gold armor. She then used her multicolored staff to summon snakes that merged and turned into humanoid soldiers. She flicked her tongue as her king cobra eyes observed the warriors. She pointed towards the planet, and they were immediately teleported there. Lisa walked towards school with her backpack over her shoulder. She was 2 blocks away from meeting up with her friends and fellow Power Fur Rangers, when 5 snake warriors materialized and surrounded her. Hey Scalefaces, like time to shed you creeps, Lisa said, and she jumped at them punching and kicking. One picked up a trash bin and tried to throw it at her, but she saw it in time and dodged it by rolling to the side. A snake warrior that was running towards her from behind was hit with the trash can and fell to the ground. It broke apart into numerous smaller snakes that quickly dematerialized as they slithered away. That's one way to recycle, Lisa remarked as she continued to fight the other 4 snake warriors. One of them tried to kick her, but she jumped back and nearly fell into a rose bush. She tenderly picked a rose and placed it on her outfit. The evil emperor entered his throne room and sat upon his throne. He used his glare to look upon the planet and watched Lisa fighting the snake warriors. His eyes opened as he saw her take a rose and place it in her outfit. What's this? So, the pink Power Fur Ranger likes roses, eh? Let's see what we can do with that. The evil emperor spat a fireball towards the planet, and it stopped and hovered above the rose bush. The snake warriors stopped fighting and Lisa had to shield her eyes as she watched the fireball. The rosebush was pulled into the fireball, and it began to mutate until it became a monster made of twisted roots and roses that had tiny mouths full of fangs. Behold, Rose Root. The voice of the evil emperor was magnified as his monster was created. Get ready, pink Power Fur Ranger, because I'm gonna be a thorny rose in your side. Rose Root mocked, then the twisted roots on his feet began to dig into the earth and it vanished as it went underground. Lisa saw the snake warriors vanish, and she closed his fist that had her pink power ring and she spoke into it. Zoltan, the evil emperor has sent a new monster to Earth. She explained. Yes, Lisa, the creature has gone underground, so we are having trouble following it right now. Get to school and inform the others and I'll contact you the moment I know more. Zoltan explained. Lisa ran the rest of the way and met up with the others and told them about the new monster. Oh no, the computers are having a tough time locking onto the monster. Clank cried as he searched on the computers. Calm yourself, Clank. We tried using echolocation to track a monster underwater in the past. Perhaps something similar can be used to find this plant monster. Zoltan said. I may need to call in Brian and see if he can help me rig something up. The echolocation hasn't worked in over 30 years. Clank griped. We can't pull him out of school unless the situation becomes worse. For the time being you'll have to work on it alone. Oh no, and here I thought today would be a good day. Clank complained. So, a rose monster appeared. Lion asked as he listened to Lisa tell the account of when she was attacked. Yeah, and it like went underground and disappeared. She explained. No word from Zoltan. Zyla asked as stuck his snout from under one of Lion's arms and Lion gave him a playful bop on the head then pushed him away. He said he'd contact us when he knows more, she replied. Not every day that roses turn into a monster that can dig underground. Terry said after making a few clicking noises. Depending on how deep it digs, the radar may not be able to find it. Not to mention the minerals in the strata can confuse sensors. Brian said as he used his wing to adjust his glasses. Can you make a gadget or something to find it? Zyla asked. Lion nodded as he listened to Brian carefully. Lisa had mentioned that the snake warriors just appeared out of nowhere. He was concerned that the same thing may happen with this creature. I'll have to give it some thought. There should be a way, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Lion, Lisa, Terry, and Zyla were walking towards Billy's juice bar, but when they got close there was the sounds of species screaming and running in terror. When they got close, they saw that the entire building was wrapped up in thorny vines that made it impossible to enter or escape. Oh no! Zyla exclaimed. Guys, over there! Lion pointed to an area out of the public eye. They ran over and prepared to change into the Power Fur Rangers. Time to transform, baby, they shouted as they crossed their paws in front of them, making X shapes, then closed their eyes. They quickly opened their eyes as they extended their index and middle fingers as if they were unsheathing claws. They then clasped their paws together as if holding a ball of energy and motioned to pull their paws behind their backs. Power of the Black Power Fur Ranger. Zyla shouted. Power of the Pink Power Fur Ranger. Lisa shouted. Power of the Yellow Power Fur Ranger. Terry shouted. Power of the Red Power Fur Ranger. Lion shouted. They then motioned as if they were throwing the energy like a fireball forward. The rings they wore transformed into a grey-coloured goo that quickly completely enveloped their bodies. The goo hardened and became their Power Fur Ranger outfits that looked as thin as spandex but stronger than the toughest steel. The helmets they wore had made black slots where the eyes were so they could see out of it. Their bodies seemed androgynous and the armor made it appear as if they had more muscle mass than they actually had. Power Fur Rangers. The Red Power Fur Ranger shouted. The others began to examine the vines to see if there was a way to destroy them. Brian, thank you for coming. Zoltan's projection said as the real Zoltan was in his holding chamber that kept him in suspended animation. I have a few ideas on how to find this new monster, Brian started to say, but he was suddenly silenced as the alarm began to go off. Clank and Brian examined the monitors. Oh no, that monster has wrapped himself around the juice bar and trapped numerous species inside. Clank said as the screen showed the roots trapping the building, and inside Slash and Ghoul tried to force the front doors open, but the vines prevented them and the others from escaping. Too bad we don't have industrial-powered weed killer. Brian remarked. That's a good idea. If we supercharge the particles of the weed killer, it can reduce those roots into powder in a matter of seconds. It'll take a few minutes to synthesize and amplify the mixture. Clank said, and Brian helped him to try and speed him up. Once ready, Brian transformed and was teleported to the juice bar. The Blue Power Fur Ranger materialized holding a large metal canister as the others ran over to him. This should free everyone inside. The Blue Power Fur Ranger said, and he began to spray the contents of the canister onto the roots. A creature made of roses and roots jumped from the dying roots as they began to turn into powder and break away. You're gonna pay for that. Smell the rose and get stuck by the thorns. Rose Root screamed. The Power Fur Rangers began to charge at the monster and attack it as the species inside the juice bar opened the door and ran away to safety. Slash raised his sunglasses to observe the Power Fur Rangers fighting the monster. He watched with his mouth hung open and his pig teeth showing. Ghoul grabbed Slash's arm and attempted to pull him, but Slash weighed too much as the giant pig did not bulge. Come on, Slash. Ghoul pleaded and it snapped Slash out of his stupor and they both ran off. The evil Emperor glared at his monster from his throne. He growled, then turned his gaze towards his monster and red laser beams shot out of his eyes. You, my monster, will reach the sky, as I watch you with my dragon's eye. He said, and Golip appeared out of the shadows and began to cheer. Pitiful, 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 the pit is full, pitiful. Golip said. Twin red laser beams shot down from the sky, and when they hit Rose Root, he began to mutate and grow as large as a skyscraper. Zords arise! Lion ordered and, in the distance, a loud crash was heard as 5 different colored robots began to crawl out of the ground. These robots were as big as a skyscraper, and they looked like humanoid knights in armor. They began to run at top speed towards the Power Fur Rangers and stopped once they reached them and the Power Fur Rangers entered them. Power shields, power swords. The Red Power Fur Ranger shouted, and the others pulled on levers to make energy weapons appear in the hands of the Zords. Rose Roots made a weapon of his own from his body. It was a long vine-like rope that had thorns sticking out of it, and he swung it around in a circle. The thorn whip struck the energy shields, and each time the thorns started growing larger and larger. They then reached a size that they began to bypass the shield and struck the Zords in an explosion of sparks. Rose Roots completely wrapped the whip around the Blue Knight Zord and used it to raise the Zord into the air and threw it at the other Zords. "We need the Megazord." Lion panted as his Zord struggled to rise. "Right." The others agreed, and the Zords jumped up into the sky and began to transform and combine into the Megazord. The Red Knight Zord became the body and the Black Knight Zord became the arms. The pink and yellow Zords each became a leg, and lastly the Blue Knight Zord became armament for the Megazord and began to generate an energy field to protect it. "You should have turned into a shovel because that hunk of tin isn't going to dig you out of this mess, Power Fur Rangers." Rose Root jeered. "Prepare to be plucked, Rose Brain." Xyla mocked. "Be careful, Lion. If those thorns get any stronger, they'll bypass our shields." The yellow Power Fur Ranger warned after making a few clicking noises. "Like he'll even get a chance to use it." The pink Power Fur Ranger mocked, and then she and the black Power Fur Ranger high-fived each other. "It looks like this is the end of the Power Fur Rangers." The winged ape replied. The evil emperor was laughing as huge clouds of smoke billowed from his mouth. He cheered along with the winged ape. The only one not enjoying herself was the evil empress as she stared at the planet. "Hiss. You guys give me such a migraine," she muttered to herself, and she nearly tripped and looked down to see Golip was sitting at her scaly feet kissing them. "Get lost, loser," she shouted as she kicked Golip, and he ran away frightened. "Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful," he mumbled as he glared at her with his eyes burning with hatred. He then melted into the shadows and vanished from sight. "Something wrong, my dear?" the evil emperor asked her. "We've underestimated those hiss creatures before, and look what happened. It may be too early to be claiming victory," she complained, but the evil emperor dismissed what she said. "Have our snake warriors standing by, and once the Power Fur Rangers are defeated, we launch a full assault and then the world will be mine." The evil emperor gloated. The evil empress rolled her eyes and slithered away as she tucked her legs under her. She rubbed her head as she entered her own private chamber where test tubes and torture devices were set up. "Hiss. Soon, Power Fur Rangers, you will fall into my coils, and once I have you," her evil laughter filled the chamber. "Time to end this," the red Power Fur Ranger said, and the others agreed, then set the controls to perform the final attack. The Megazord stomped a foot, then it stomped the second, then it began to rapidly stomp at feet as it leaned forward, getting ready to attack with the double-sided katana it held. Rose Root swung the thorn whip and launched it at the Megazord, and it struck it on the chest, but it did little to stop the momentum the Megazord had built up. The Megazord ran forward towards Rose Root and made a single slash that made the energy of the double-sided katana amplified by the momentum it had created. The Megazord ran past the monster, and Rose Root grabbed its side as it fell forward and exploded as fragments of its body flew in different directions as they shrunk to their original size. Golip suddenly appeared and grabbed one of the fragments that fell next to him before it dematerialized. "Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful, mine now. The pit is full, pitiful," he muttered as he returned to the secret base on the moon. The Power Fur Rangers had changed back to normal and was sitting in Billy's juice bar to enjoy a snack after battling the monster. Lisa was busy telling the day's events and the grade she received on her latest test. "So, like it wasn't the best grade ever, but at least I passed. I just thought I'd get an A instead of a boring old B," she said. "A B isn't bad at all. You could have the grades our friends get all the time," Lion said as he lowered his voice when he mentioned Slash and Ghoul. "Esh, before you call them over," Terry said. "Yeah," Brian agreed. Billy, the owner of the place, walked over as he was unconsciously pulling on his goat beard. "Guys, can you help me out?" he asked. "What do you need, Billy?" Xyla asked. "So that monster attack has scared my patrons, and maybe some flowers might brighten the place up," Billy explained. "Like I dunno, maybe certain flowers but not roses," Lisa replied. "Not roses." "Got it," Billy repeated, making a mental note. "So, you want us to pick them up?" Xyla asked. "I hate to ask, but my delivery truck was destroyed and Slash and Ghoul already said no. Well, they said no after they soiled themselves, then ran for the showers." "You mean that's all it took?" Brian mocked as he adjusted his glasses. "For real, we should have done something like that sooner." Lisa said, and the group laughed as she waved her feathers in front of her nose, indicating a bad smell. I'll be glad to help you out, Billy. Lion said, and Billy had a big smile on his goat face and pulled Lion aside to explain the project to him. Slash and Ghoul exited the locker room wearing only towels around their waists. They approached the group as the four friends covered their faces, hoping to not be seen. Guys, you gotta help us. Slash pleaded as he raised the sunglasses he was still wearing. Somebody stole our clothes from the lockers. Ghoul said. Like why? Lisa asked incredulously. The others looked at each other in confusion. I dunno, but all our money and everything is in them. How are we supposed to get home? Slash asked. Yeah. The last time I came home without my clothes, my parents beat my behind until my fur was red. Ghoul stated. When was that exactly? Brian asked as he raised an eyebrow dismissively at the skunk. Like 2 days ago, he replied, and Lisa rolled her eyes. Did anyone know the combination to your lockers? Terry asked. We didn't lock them. I mean, even we don't know the combination, so locking it would be pointless. Slash said, and the group groaned. I guess we can ask around and see if anyone saw anything. Brian said. Billy finished speaking to Lion and walked back to the group as Lion left the building to drive his car and pick up the delivery. Oh, guys, your clothes should be done by now. Billy explained. What? Both Slash and Ghoul said together. Well, after you guys soiled yourself, I got complaints about the smell coming from your lockers. So I threw the clothes into the washing machine to clean them. Just throw them in the dryer and they'll be ready soon. Oh, and I got your stuff stored in a box at my register for when you're ready to leave. Billy explained, then he walked off. The friends averted their eyes as Slash and Ghoul stood there embarrassed. Let's go, dimwit, Slash said to Ghoul as they walked off. The group waited until they left until they began to laugh hysterically. Just another typical day for the Power Fur Rangers. This ends episode 3. I hope you enjoyed it. Please join us again in episode 4.
No!